What's up, babes, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Bree and I love all things books, smelling good, all that good shit. Today we're here to talk about books. So today we're going to talk about all of the books that I read in June. I finished 13 books in total, which is like bomb for me because this past year, like, the reading slump has been slumping. Life has been hard, okay? My job, brain rot when I get home. So the fact that I've been able to read anything has been like great, but I haven't been able to read at the frequency that I usually have. So I was determined to get out of my reading slump. I definitely unslumped myself in June. I read quite a bit of my physical TBR, but I also picked up great gems from Libby and the library. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. If you want to talk all things reading goals, fantasy, romance, some really good smut, just keep on watching. I figured we should maybe go through the physical TBR first and all the things that I finished, and then we can go through all of my audiobook listens, as well as the library stuff. The first one, this was like a soft DNF. I actually received an arc of this book. I started it and I was just having a hard time reading like fantasy, you know what I'm saying? Outside of like paranormal romance, I was kind of struggling with fantasy for a little bit. And I ended up putting it down and I hated it because I couldn't believe that I got picked to read this arc and I couldn't get through it. And that is Gold by Raven Kennedy. This, I actually have the new version, the Bloom version, coming in the mail. I pre-ordered this, thought it was the Bloom version, and it's not. It's through Penguin. It's the same book, but I went ahead and just read the physical copy because reading the ebook was actually, it was getting on my nerves. And then Gold. Yeah, this is book 5 in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. If you don't know anything about this series, this is a King Midas retelling. We have our girl Aaron. She is Midas's gold touch favorite, right? She is completely gilded from head to toe. She has these ribbons in her back that are like sentient little babies just doing their thing. But what people don't know is that she is not everything that she seems to be. They think that she is basically like his gold touch prostitute, but Aaron has been with Midas since they were basically kids. And she does not realize that her entire life is a lie. She has been kept in this literal, actual golden cage that runs throughout the castle. And she has been there to basically do Midas's bidding under the guise that she is being loved and protected because this is all that she knows. She was ripped away from her home, basically sold into the sex industry, and eventually came across Midas and bolstered him into his majesty, essentially. So he is the king of 6 Kingdom. Midas is a dick, okay? He's a horrible person. He uses Aaron and anyone else he can to get what he wants. And things kind of go astray when it comes time for Aaron to have to be moved out of 6 Kingdom. And those blinders are taken fully off when she runs into our boo Slade. He's yummy. I don't want to say too much about who he is or what he is in case you have not read the series. So at this point in the series, we're in a big old rip, literally big old rip, because shit has gone down. There has been lots of betrayal. We have Slade and Aaron being separated. It is, y'all, it's stressful. This book, though, I felt like it didn't need to be a full book. I feel like half of this book could have ended up in like the first part, Glow, and the last half of this could have been like the first part of what is now going to be Goldfinch. I don't think that we needed to have 6 books in this series. I absolutely adore Raven Kennedy, but the pacing in this one was a struggle. We are watching Slade go through all of the kingdoms, just fucking shit up. And I love that, but at the same time, I'm like, bro, can we get to the point? We have Aaron being reconnected with her people, and that is a whole other thing. I can only go into that too much without giving spoilers. But that didn't move very far either throughout all of this. We have Os and Risa, who, like, literally nothing happens to them until the end of the book. So I don't know why we keep seeing them. And I really wish that we had gotten to see more of Os and Risa's progression in the last book, because I absolutely adore those two characters and I adore them together. And I love the budding friendship between Risa and Aaron. The thing that really got me was that, listen, I have been reading this for a couple of years now, this series. Every time we get to Queen Melina's chapter, she is the former wife of Midas. Every time I would get to her chapters, I would just skip over them because they didn't add anything, and she was just a stone cold bitch. And she was very much like very anti-girls girl. And while you understood her bitterness, she was just as complicit in Aaron's torture and her abuse as Midas was. And so I didn't want to hear shit from that woman. I didn't. Raven finally made me care about Melina. She finally made me care about Melina, and that was what saved this book. Melina's character arc from the end of Glow to the end of Gold is something to behold. Like, Raven did that. She did that. I love this series. I know a lot of people don't. It's not for everybody. It deals with very heavy topics. There is a lot of essay, a lot of abuse, a lot of manipulation, sex trafficking. It's fantasy, but it's not easy to read fantasy at all. And there are some pacing issues throughout the series. I don't think that this is a perfect series, but I absolutely adore it. Shout out to the Nerd Fam for the arc. I hate that I couldn't get an actual review out because I had to stop. I was just not vibing at the time. I'm so happy that I finished though. This was really, really good. Even though I didn't feel like it was needed, I enjoyed it for what it was, if that makes sense. This book right here, y'all. Listen, I love femdom. I love femdom. I love age gap. I love workplace romance. Jaylee Fields gave me all of that in one night of fun. Y'all, we have Victor Marshall and Amanda Vaughn. Amanda Vaughn is Victor's much older assistant, and she was pretty much tasked with helping him through the transition of going into business manager CEO after the death of his father or his grandfather, one of those. Basically, the big man of the house is gone. Victor is the big man of the house now. And Amanda does not play about Victor, okay? And Victor does not play about Amanda. Amanda has had a crush on Victor, but she's like, I can't. Because one, he's my boss, but two, like, I'm old enough to be his mother, okay? So she kind of, she has these little feelings for him, but she lets it go. But she doesn't realize that he also has feelings for her. Specifically, the way that she is able to walk into a room and own it. They have so many different ups and downs with business partners, and she steps in and she handles them. She commands authority, and he loves that shit. Like, she had Victor questioning things about himself, okay? So color Victor's surprise when he decides, you know what? I think I need to explore this submissive side of myself. Like, I want to get into this. So he goes to a very prominent local kink club and books an appointment with a dom. And guess who the dom is? It's Amanda! Y'all, this was so good. It was so good. Jaylee Fields, outside of the fact that, like, this is an author that I also do consider a friend, I adore Jaylee's writing because she always hits the vulnerability that I feel like a lot of times we lack with our Black characters, especially our more dominant Black characters. I love that we get to see these switch dynamics. We get to see Amanda and her, dominant madam energy, but we also get to see her just fully vulnerable and soft and pliable. And we get to see this powerful Black man in full submission to the woman that he adores. Like, y'all, I love it. If you have not read Hunted by Jaylee Fields, you need to read that. It is Motorcycle Club dynamics, DS dynamics, also age gap. It's so good. It's so good. Jaylee Fields is one of my favorite authors, and I cannot wait to continue to see what else she puts out because they're always good. This was gifted to me. It's actually a signed copy. Came in a really beautiful package. If you go over on my TikTok, Third Eye Angel, I have it up over there. Came with the book, bookmarks, a tea blend that was crafted after Victor Marshall himself. It was just absolutely beautiful. Candles, all the things that I love. But this book right here, y'all, quick read, but it gives you all the feels. It gives you all the spice. It's 5 stars. It was everything. I adore it. Now, I just want to prepare y'all because this right here was probably the most disappointing read I have had in a long time. We waited how many years for this book to come out? Was it like 3 or 4? Hot ass minute. And this series has always gotten criticisms, and I will just say this. I don't necessarily need my characters to be likable. I feel like this series has a cast of very unlikable characters, but I love the world. And even though they were unlikable, like, I got it. Like, if I went through the things that those characters went through, I would probably also be very unlikable. If I were spoiled in the way some of those characters are, I would probably be very unlikable. So I felt like those aspects of the characters were realistic, and I don't think necessarily a fair criticism. I don't necessarily need my characters to be likable to enjoy a book. But this book tried to give everything and gave me absolutely nothing, and that is sadly Children of Anguish and Anarchy. I gave this a 3 stars simply because the world was beautiful. Tomi Adeyemi's writing is stunning, as always, but this gave us so much while also giving us absolutely nothing. This may give slight spoilers, but I feel like I can't give you guys an honest, accurate feeling of how I feel about this book unless I like actually describe what's happening. At the end of Vengeance and Virtue, or Virtue and Vengeance, whatever, we are playing out this war, right? We know they have been through this war. Jaylee and her brother have been struggling with the betrayals of Inan and Amari. We get to the end. Shit is going down. They are winning this war. And then they get napped. Okay? They get napped at the end. When we go into the beginnings of Children of Anguish and Anarchy, that is where we are officially left off. They are all in captivity, and they are specifically targeting Jaylee. And the captain of the ship is looking for a specific person that can wield this magic that has been designed by their king. So we are being introduced to new peoples and brand new magic systems just out of the blue without any real explanation of the magic systems. Like, we don't even know that these other places really exist outside of the fact that, like, we see these maps at the beginning of the book, but we don't really know that these places are there. We don't know who these people are. They don't know who these people are, right? They end up making their escape, getting everybody off, but Jaylee does not escape without being attached magically to this king. He has basically put this medallion in her heart, and it is made of his own, like, blood metal magic that allows him to control her. And he needs to find the other half to her powers and put that medallion in that person in order to be able to control all of them so he can ascend to godhood. That, like, this story veers so far left, which I would not have had an issue with if this book had about 300 more pages. I'm fine with the turn that it takes because it forces all of them to put their differences aside, right? And that has been, like, one of the biggest criticisms of this series, is that they can't get past their shit. Like, they can't look at the bigger picture. They can't get past their shit. And this forces them to get past their shit. But the way that we do it is that we basically have a handshake and it's like, okay, we're cool now. I don't 100% trust you, but we're cool now. After all of that, that is how we resolve things. We have them and they don't go back home. We have them in a whole other land with a bunch of people that we didn't know existed. Whole new language, whole new magic systems. Trying to find this girl, which we do end up finding. We end up finding out that Amari is bisexual, but we don't actually talk about it. Like, now she got a girlfriend, but we don't actually talk about it. Nothing was resolved in this book. And the more I think about it, the more angry I get. Like, and not only that, but there were characters in the last book that seem to have done some really fucked up shit that we don't even acknowledge here. Like, it's brought up in like one sentence, like, oh, I hope he's not dead. I hope he didn't sell us out. But you never hear anything else about it. It was giving very much, here y'all go, damn. That's what it was giving. Like, this made me angry. Because even though it was stunning writing, a stunning world, we got so much to get absolutely nothing by the end. It was so rushed. Like, you really couldn't understand what was going on. You're just trying to grasp this new magic system and these new people and how all of a sudden we have people trying to turn themselves into gods. Look, I hope the movie is worth it. I hope the movie is worth it because that was not it. And part of me kind of feels like it's publisher nonsense. Like, part of me feels like it's trad pub nonsense. But I'm still mad because we waited years for that. And I have never been heavily critical of that series. I have always loved that series for what it was. I always felt like it was a vibe. That should have been a vibe. There were so many things that should have been explored in that book that we did not get to see. I did not get to see the growth that I wanted to see from Amari. Zane, Zaylee's brother, she tried so hard to give him this like big arc, but it just wasn't working. Yeah, that was so disappointing and it's heartbreaking. Like, I was so excited for that book and I'm heartbroken. Honestly, like I gave it 3 stars because her writing is beautiful, but it could have been like a 1 or 2. It really could have been a 1 or 2. And I hate saying that. I don't like giving low ratings to Black books, but that one right there irked my soul. On from that, this series right here, I told y'all I'm going to give you a full review on the series, and I will be. For a minute, I could not get my hands on book 1. It's back in stock now, though. But if you saw my last reading vlog, you know that I did finish up this series, Tragic Bonds and Unbroken Bonds by Bree. I absolutely adore this. I won't go into too much detail here because you guys are going to get a full review. This is dark fantasy, really dark romance too. The romance in here does have some dark angles to it. It is Why Choose. It is college romance. It has so many things in here that I absolutely adore. We have Oleander, who has been on the run since she was a young girl. She ended up in an incident where she was in a car accident with her family, and that was when she discovered that she had these unknown to man powers, and she accidentally kills everybody in the car. And when her powers are discovered, she is forced to go on the run after her bondeds, or her fated mates, let's call them, are notified of who she is. So they're excited to go get her. They're ready to, you know, take care of her. They know she's lost her family. They're ready to be everything that she ever needs in the world. And she runs and she leaves them. Fast forward 5 years later, they find her. They basically hold her in captivity and tell her, look, we hate you. You ain't shit, but you're going to be here and you're going to be a part of this bonded group, okay? Bonded groups are very important in this magic system because not only are they people that are fated to you, but bonding with everyone in your bonded group brings out everybody's powers. So the powers that they already have, it amplifies it by like 10. But they don't understand how special Oleander is and how deeply intricate their bonded group and their history goes. It is so good. I feel like the last book wraps up almost too perfectly, but I actually did not mind it because it was to the point where it's like, these people are essentially gods now. So in my mind, like, how was it not going to wrap up perfectly? What else could happen? Like, she would have had to pull something completely asinine out of her booty cheeks, you know, to throw anything else at us. I really enjoyed this. This is not going to be for you if you really struggle with dubious consent, because the consent in this book is very dubious, bordering on non-consensual. Because we have to remember that when we're dealing with these people, we're actually dealing with two different entities. We're dealing with the person, but their bond that's inside of them also forces them to do things that they may not necessarily want to do, depending on what is going on. And so it creates a lot of dubious consent. If you don't like that, you will not like this series. It does have a bully aspect to it. If you don't like bully romances in any way, shape, or form, you will not like this, because they really, like, the first like 3 books, the first book is rough. Like, they really hate her. They really do. And it's like, you get it, but you don't. But they also, they're dealing with absolutely no information. So if you don't like bully, you will not like this series. But I will give you guys a full rundown of the series in an upcoming video, because I absolutely adored it. This series pulled me out of my reading slump. It was that good. I picked up the first book and could not put the series down. I read the full series in like a month. All right, let's talk about library and books that are not physically in front of me that I read on audiobook. The first one I read from the library, that is Lure of the Wilds. Listen, y'all, this was so good. I gave it a 4 stars, only because there were some parts that did get a little slow, but this was so good. It is diverse fantasy, okay? It has this dark academia quality too that I really, really enjoyed. We have our main character, Lure, and she is a human living in a world run by the Fae. Her parents were killed when she was young, and she currently lives in a group home. And she is of an older age where she can now really help with the kids in the group home. And she also helps the parents of that group home run their apothecary. One day she's working, and these really fancy fae come in there looking for her house mother. And she's like, she's not here, but like, I can help you. And this dude takes a whole lot of interest in her because of her ability to read. And she seems like a very knowledgeable little human, right? Things run amok when there is a huge earthquake that devastates their town. It razes homes, destroys property, causes fires, and they are struggling. The day after this happens, Fae sentries come seeking out her house mom, but she decides to go in her place. She sacrifices herself, and she makes a deal with this Fae lord to go into this library that they have been trying to access, that apparently none of them can go into. If these Fae walk into this library, it kills them. And so she makes a deal that if she goes into this library and goes through all of these archives She will deliver them any information that she finds within those records as long as they agree to go help rebuild her community. So she takes on this huge task of going into this library that nobody else can enter to give information that she doesn't really know what she's looking for to the Fae. She ends up coming across this really adorable young Fae guy named Ash, and he ends up taking a liking to her, and she ends up taking a liking to him. But at some point she realizes that not everything that she has been promised is happening, and everything that she has been told is a lie. And she goes on the run with Ash in tow. We end up meeting some really awesome characters. We end up meeting another female love interest. So it's giving love triangle. Y'all, the end of the book, I knew that it was too good. Like, I knew something wasn't right. But the end of the book hurt my feelings. Like, I told my mom, I was like, I'm looking at, like, there's only a few pages left. And, like, I know something's up. And I don't want it to be what I think it is. It was worse than what I thought it was, y'all. It was so good, though. It's very whimsical in, like, a dark academia kind of way. I really enjoyed it. So this is not, I went in thinking that it was a standalone book, but it's not. There is going to be a book 2. I don't know if it's going to be like a duology or if it's going to be a trilogy, but I can't wait because my feelings are fucking hurt. They're hurt. Okay. Also have to put in there is some dubious consent to this. There is. So if that is something that is a deep trigger for you, know that that is something that is in there. Okay. Mistaken identity. Yeah. So just be aware, because this isn't a book that I've seen like a lot of trigger warnings on, but I think it is something to note for people. Really, really great. Gave it 4 stars. I can't wait to see what the next book brings. Let's move on to audiobooks. The 2 that I've already told you guys about, The Housemaid by Frieda McFadden, I gave that a 3 stars. It was fine. Like, it was entertaining. It was giving very much like Lifetime movie network. Like, I kind of guessed what was going to happen, even though there were certain aspects about it that I didn't necessarily guess. I picked up what we were putting down at the beginning of the book, you know? We have this young woman who is recently out of prison. She just lost her job. She's trying to find another job, and she sees an advert for a live-in housemaid. She goes. She doesn't think she's going to get the job because obviously, like, she's an ex-con. And so she's like, once they look up my record, you know, like, they're not going to hire me. But she gets hired. And the minute she gets hired, the lady of the house kind of flips on her. She starts just acting really, really weird. Everything is creepy. She's been given this like really weird room in the attic to live in. It gave what you think it will give. The wife is crazy. The husband seems like the perfect guy, and she can't understand why he's with her. All of that good stuff, right? So it, to me, was predictable, but it was still an entertaining read. I gave it a 3 stars. It was cool. The other one I read, if you guys are interested in more about these books, go watch my last reading vlog. I talked about them in there. The other one was How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kuang. This was a lot. It was a lot, and it was to the point where, like, I was getting to, like, the endings of the book, and I was like, I really want the story to just end. We have 2 writers, a YA novelist and a screenwriter. Our YA novelist is a young woman who has an intertwined tortured past, with a young man who was involved in the, suicide of her sister. Years later, she is successful in her work, and she gets greenlit for TV. So one of her books are being adapted into a television show. When she goes out to LA to meet the writer, she finds out that this man that she has this sordid past with is one of the writers on her screenwriting team. And he is going out of his way to make amends. all of that and their tortured past turns into feelings. And it's like we go from her flat out hating him to him being apologetic to her flat out hating him and him being annoyed by the fact that she just won't give him a chance. And then next thing you know, they're fucking. Like it was just a lot. We have all of that, and then on top of that, we're dealing with like the fallout from her sister's suicide, as well as the fallout between her parents and herself, because she has a lot of issues with her parents, a lot of generational, cultural dynamics that just don't work between the two entities. And we're dealing with all of that. And it's like, it's sad and melancholy, but then you get like this really intense smut. Like, it was just a lot. It was sensory overload for me. I was like, how did we get here? And there were so many, like, if you separate all of the different dynamics of the book into pieces, they are all done so beautifully. I just didn't personally feel like they worked very well together. I felt like there were some things that just did not need to be there. So yeah, was it good? Was it a good story? Yes. But there was just too much going on for me. It was a lot. And then I went, oh, I forgot. I have one more book that's physical. It fell somewhere that I can't get to, and I have to go fish it out. Don't judge me. Sight Unseen by Kasha Thompson. This was a 5-star read. It was so good. It is basically the premise of Married at First Sight. We have Evelyn and Quincy. They have both decided to go onto this reality TV show where they are given their perfect match from the experts, and they meet each other at the wedding. And when they meet each other, they're like, oh shit, he fine, she fine, we fine. And it's like, it's a love story from there. They both fall head over heels from each other on go, but there are still a lot of issues to resolve. Quincy has kind of been he's not really a lover boy, you know? And he just thought, you know, I'm gonna just go on this show and like, we'll see what happens. He didn't think that they were actually going to give him the woman of his dreams. Evelyn is one of those characters that has been looking for love in all the wrong places. And so when she finds Quincy, she's like, I am down bad for this man and I am not letting this man go. They have their hurdles, but it is such a really great, I feel like, fluffier romance. There were some deeper, like, more emotional aspects to it, sure, but I adore this story. It was so well done. It definitely, if you are someone who loves like reality TV and you're kind of looking for that same kind of suspense in a book, read Sight Unseen by Kasha Thompson. It was so good. The spice was amazing. I love Evelyn. I love Quincy. They are so perfectly flawed. One of my favorite book couples to date. And then we have Muscles and Monsters by Ashley Bennett. I gave this a 4 stars. 4-star. This was really cute, quick, smutty. We have a baker and an owner of a gym, and the owner of the gym is a werewolf. Monster romance. Our cute little baker, you know, she's a little thick, all of that good stuff. And she is having a rough day and ends up having the day saved by said werewolf, and he ends up falling hard for her. This was really cute, really quick, perfectly smutty. If you love monster romance, I think that you will adore this. And I love that our broody alpha male is still like very sweet and tender. And he has like a lot of vulnerability to him. So yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it. I gotta get the second book. They had Muscles and Monsters on Libby, but they don't have any of the other books, so I think I'm just gonna purchase them off of, you know, the Zon or whatever. And we have Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Sher. I gave this a 4.5. This is a YA romance. We have Dylan and Theo. This is it's giving like Crazy Rich Asians vibes. I think this was described as like Crazy Rich Asians meets Heartstopper. I've never read Heartstopper, so Couldn't tell you. So we have Dylan. He is working with his aunt in her restaurant. He goes to make a delivery and ends up meeting one of the rudest customers that he has ever found. Dude is like cussing him out because there were onions in his food and he didn't want onions. And while he's getting cussed out, this cute boy comes out of the back room and is like, hey, don't be like that. Like, you don't have to do him like that. Like, why are you doing him like that? Okay? And Dylan is like, how does someone this awful get a guy like that? Well, the next day, the guy like that shows up at Dylan's workplace. Y'all, it was so cute. It's kind of unrealistic because Theo is rich as rich can be. And they're both teenagers. Theo's dad really don't give a fuck. So Theo was just running around doing whatever he wants to, giving money to whatever he can. And he sees Dylan and his family struggling. His mother had recently passed away and he wants to enter this fall festival competition and enter his grandmother's mooncake recipe into the competition to help raise money so that his aunt can keep the restaurant open, and then that way he can help take care of his family but also honor his mother. And Theo is right there to be cute and write a check. It was so cute. It was so unrealistic, and I kind of loved it because of that. Theo is all of the things that you would hope that a rich person would be. He is sweet and kind and empathetic, and can he be a little manipulative at times? Yes. But he still has good intentions, and he loves him some Dylan. They were so damn cute. Listen, this man flew to China to help him get the ingredient he needed for his mooncakes. Y'all, it was so cute. It was so cute. Like I said, kind of unrealistic. It was still a vibe. I gave it a 4.5. I knocked it down a little bit because it is very unrealistic, but it was so damn cute. It was so precious. And then last but not least, we have Make a Scene by Mimi Grace. Y'all, if you want something cute and fluffy, like you have just been reading a lot of dark, emotional, you need a break from that, pick up Make a Scene by Mimi Grace. We have Retta and Duncan. Another one where we have the owner of a gym and a baker. So Retta is a baker, and when we meet her, she is kind of in a predicament because she is finding herself in the midst of having to watch her ex and her cousin on their road to marriage. And she's fed up. She's tired of the look. She's tired of people making assumptions that she is like this bitter bitch ass Betty, you know? So she's like, you know what? I'm going to start dating again. I'm not showing up to any of these events without a man on my arm. Some situations with the parking outside of her restaurant and the gym cause her to have some run-ins with Duncan. And eventually she realizes, I kind of like this man. And she gets him to fake date her. But of course, the fake dating is never really fake because usually they always have feelings for each other. And that is exactly what ends up happening. This was so cute. Duncan was such a vibe. Like he was a gym bro, but kind of like a nerdy gym bro. Like he was cute. Retta was just adorable. It was cute. The romance was solid. The spice was really great too. And it was funny. Like Retta is hilarious. I loved it. So definitely I gave it a 3.5 stars. I think I need to bump that up to like a 4.5 because now that I think about it, I really love that book. I plan on putting it in my physical collection because it was so good. Can't wait to read the other books in the series because if this one was that good, I definitely know the rest will be. So yeah, that is all of the books that I read in June. You guys let me know what you felt about any of these books, especially if you are a Children of Blood and Bone stan like I was. How did you feel about that third book, babe? Do we need to put together a support group because my feelings are hurt? Yeah. All right, I love you guys. Stay tuned because I have some really awesome book reviews coming. I'll see you guys in the next one.